Oh, tooth gems. Tooth gems are such a fun topic, especially because right now they are a very, very popular service. I'm sure if you've been on TikTok lately, you have seen that gems are blowing up thanks to a lot of really big celebrities who are going crazy with their gems, to even just influencers and the new age of cosmetics and expression just being so different than what it used to be. So, tooth gems are definitely a hot service. I'll never forget this one time back when our studio was open in our commercial storefront. I remember I got a phone call once from a potential client, and she worked for a military base and just moved to the area. And she called us saying that her tooth gem fell off and that she was looking to have it replaced. And I said, "Oh, like, so sorry to hear that, but like, we don't actually do tooth gems here." And she got kind of snarky with me, and she was like, "What do you mean? You provide teeth whitening? I thought all teeth whitening providers provided tooth gems." And I was like, "Well, we don't." And then it's crazy to think that even that would have been 2021, early 2021, how far tooth gems have come already. So kind of funny to think that tooth gems were starting to become hot even when I didn't even realize it. So tooth gems, if you're not offering right now and you're already offering teeth whitening, I would highly consider looking into it if that's something that you feel comfortable with, because it is a great add-on service, not only to teeth whitening, but to a dental clinic or a beauty professional business. So today on the show, we're going to chat with Megan. Megan is a leader and striving to create a safe and effective tooth gem industry. Megan is a fellow dental professional and really, really wants to highlight how to do this safe and effectively, not only to keep yourself safe, but also to keep your patient safe or your client, depending on what industry you're in. But we're going to Colorado and we're going to dive into all the hot, juicy topics about how to give gems the best retention. We're going to chat products. We're going to chat about one-use disposables and sterilization. And then we're going to, of course, talk about, designs, pricing, all that fun stuff. So please grab those headphones and make sure to go follow Megan. She has some amazing things in the works, and I would definitely keep an eye out on her page moving forward. So friend, let's dive into this week's episode on all things tooth gems. If you are a teeth whitening or tooth gem specialist, this is the podcast for you. My name's Rach, and I am the industry leader of all things teeth entrepreneurship. Together, let's learn from real-life experiences to must-have brands on how to take your business to the next level and leave that 9-to-5. Friend, welcome to Whitening Wednesday, and I'm so glad you are here. Let's build a safe industry together. If you are offering tooth gems or tooth crystals, you are probably thinking time and time again, how do I achieve the best retention? Well, friend, you need the best products. Check out Fern Whitening Supplies for all of your adhesion needs. Fern is an authorized dental dealer, which means that we are not messing around. We have literally everything you need to adhere a tooth gem safe, effectively, and with the most longevity. Check out Fern Whitening Supplies, and also don't forget to use code WW10 for 10% off your first order. Let's get on with the show. Happy Whitening Wednesday. Today on the show, we have Megan, who's the owner and founder of Na Gem Tooth Bling. Did I say that correct, Megan?
Yes. Na gems. Tooth bling.
So
gems.
So we were talking about this before we start recording, and it's literally your name backwards, which is so fun. So how did you come up with that?
Yeah, well, I was like, I always knew. So my family growing up, we would call each other by our
names reversed all the time. And when I was deciding to get into this, I was like, obviously I need to call it that. Like, Gems is in the name. So
That is so perfect. So tell us, I'm so excited to chat with you. You're in Denver, Colorado, and your business is all things tooth gems. You're a fellow dental assistant, and I'm excited to hear how this even started. Like, were you in the ortho world and were doing brackets, or are you in general and you just kind of was like, oh, like tooth gems are kind of catching my eye? Like, where did tooth gems come from?
Well, I am in general. I used to be a dental assistant, so I don't really assist much anymore unless it's absolutely necessary because I like sitting at the front desk, but I do more managerial stuff for my office now.
Amazing.
But in search of the perfect side hustle, I kind of toyed with a few ideas and then thought, well, I love dental. I love oral hygiene. I have made jewelry in the past and love being creative. And I was like, shoot, duh.
Now, when did you start?
I started doing them back in February. So I haven't hit my first birthday yet, but
So close.
she's coming up. Yeah.
Yes. So when you thought about it, were you also starting to see it more and more on socials?
Yes, now that I am constantly clicking on pictures of tooth gems and videos, and as my interests increase, yeah, of course, it shows up more.
Yes. And I'm sure you've even noticed from February to now when we're recording in of December 2023, even probably the traction of more and more accounts that you're seeing from February to now. I mean, tooth gems are really, really exploding. So tell me, like when you started, have you kind of had to go through a lot of different steps or products? Like when you started, was it with your background, you just knew right off the hop the perfect bond, the perfect flow, or if you're using comp, etc.? Or has it been a lot of mix and match and figuring out what you like and don't like over the past few months?
So the first ever composite that I bought, my boss is a dentist, obviously. My boss was like, we'll just buy like the cheapest composite. Like it doesn't really matter. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I think a combination of that composite and just starting out, my retention wasn't amazing. And then we were like, scrap that. We're going to use 3M. So I use the 3M Filtech Global and I use 3M Scotch Bond Universal. And they're truly the best of the best on the market. 3M is like the Rolls Royce of bond and composite and most things dental products. So yeah.
And exactly when you say Rolls Royce, I mean, 3M is very expensive. So, how
Yeah.
are you building this into your pricing?
I feel like I charge pretty much what everyone charges that is in a large city. And I am okay with taking on a little bit of more overhead, knowing that I'm using the best products.
You feel comfortable, like you feel like you know that you're going to have some better retention, etc. So you do feel confident in that, and that's huge for our listeners to hear because I know there can be a lot of hesitation when it comes to sourcing more expensive products because you think, oh my gosh, you're cutting into my margin, etc. But at the end of the day, if in return those better products are going to get you better retention, etc., then in return you should be getting more clients. So it should all even out, right? So that
Yeah, for
is
sure.
so great that you've figured out what you like and that you're sticking with it. Now, what
Yeah.
about gems? I see that you have so many fun different designs and styles. How long did it take you to figure out what type of gem brand? Like, are you going more synthetic or are you going more crystal?
I use pretty much only Swarovskis and pronunciation
That's a
Preciosa.
hard one, right?
Preciosa, I've heard it a million different ways. But yeah, those are the only two brands that I use, obviously. And I use some synthetic opals. I don't use any natural opals, but yeah, glass is where it's at.
That's so fun. And do you find that as gems are becoming more popular, do you find your clients are specifically asking for certain name brands, or do you find that
No,
they are just looking for styles?
no, I don't think anyone has ever asked me, can I have Swarovskis over? No, I don't think I've ever been asked that. Sometimes clients don't even really know what to call them. So I don't think that they're super privy to the brands that we use, but if they ask, sure. But no, I have not been asked that.
That's good to know because it's actually really interesting as we work with different suppliers. We're actually about to sign contracts with Swarovski, and they told us if you are a provider, you are not able to use their name legally, which is so interesting because you think, with such a big brand name that a lot of clients would be interested in knowing that that's what you're using. So it's interesting that a big brand doesn't want their name out there in this industry.
I think that's a missed opportunity for Swarovski personally. Probably like better right now for small techs because I could imagine the prices would significantly increase and they would probably market and brand the tooth gems differently. But I do think, yeah, I think they're so popular and they're getting so much more popular that it is kind of a missed opportunity for Swarovski. But yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like they will take legal action if you are, say, it's on your website and you have their name. I mean, guess we'll see if anyone actually does get.
They can try to sue me, but I don't have money. So no, I don't actually advertise that I use Swarovski and or Preciosa purely because there's not enough character limit on my bio.
That's too good. And it's true. They do really cut you down on that. But that's awesome. And it's a great thing for us to chat about because, like you said, you just heard about it. We just kind of heard about it because of our contract deals. And it's something that you learn and you hear about in this industry as it continues to grow. So it'll be interesting to see if they stick, or as you kind of mentioned, as this industry continues to grow, maybe they'll rethink that. But
Sure.
what is something that you find is the most interesting when it comes to gems? Do you find a lot of clients are looking for one gem, or do you find these different large styles of crossed quite a few teeth are becoming more and more popular?
Well, I definitely do a few of the simple ones, which I feel like is more my style, and I have a sweet spot for the minimal placement, simplicity. But I definitely do get enough people that want the full out bling grill, like front tooth fatty, as I like to call them, designs. And yeah, I mean, I post a lot of them and I share a lot of inspiration pictures from other techs. So I think that just brings more people in it. If you see it, they're like, oh, I kind of want that. I would say I probably do more like medium designs than I do simple ones. But sometimes that changes if I'm posting like simple ones for a week. I'll get a few more simple clients, but I love the bold babies very much. And I love doing craziness.
Oh, and they're so fun. And it looks like you were so good at it. Like your designs are amazing. Now, you talk about gum health, you talk about the real life scenarios of the intraoral cavity. So, obviously, as we know, there's lots of reason why gum inflammation is around and why it happens. So, when it comes to your clients, if you find a client does have a lot of inflammation, will you actually possibly adjust the design that they wanted, or reduce the amount of gems that they potentially want on? Or do you just say like your oral health is not ideal for tooth gem placements? How do you kind of adjust that?
Well, obviously, the level in which someone is experiencing periodontal disease or gingivitis is a scale. And so I think that there is a long and a short answer for that. But usually I don't see many clients that have gingivitis or
Good.
early periodontal disease. That is because if they follow me on Instagram, they know that I am an oral health advocate first and a tooth jeweler second. But I do also include some expectations in a welcome text once someone schedules. So I just let them know if they are experiencing inflammation or blood or visible decay, trauma, any buildup. I will likely pass and offer them resources on how to find a dentist that they can afford or that is in their network. But let's say someone shows up and I'm questioning it. I would usually refer back to the paperwork. So I have a section of my paperwork that says, are you cool with talking about this? I don't give them an answer to say absolutely not, but I do give them an option to say I have some reservations. So depending on the severity, I would definitely, if somebody's bleeding and there's a ton of buildup, I would probably say I'm cool with doing one little one, and then I probably won't replace it unless I'm sure that you've been seen by a dentist. And that's really only because it's a liability. So there's a lack of knowledge, which is not the fault of the client because dental is expensive. People might have not had the care growing up, so they don't have the information that they need to have a healthy oral cavity. But I think that if you want to be in this profession, you owe your clients a basic knowledge of oral hygiene and what you need to do to keep your mouth healthy. And it just feels wrong if you don't help them find a dentist, or, and apparently that's controversial that I've said that, but I think that you owe your clients helping them find a dentist. And yeah, just why take $100 from somebody when they can go use that $100 to get a cleaning, and then they can come back and they're like, oh my God, I love you so much. My mouth feels so much better, looks so much better. My overall health is better. And now we can put a gem on it.
Exactly. And now you could potentially even do more than what you originally could have done, right? So,
right. You can definitely do more. And my clients love that I care so much about oral hygiene and that I am fiercely passionate, while other techs apparently don't.
it's tricky. And I love that you are mentioning that and recommending that. And it's so true. If you can recommend out for different services, absolutely. And it's a great way to network with your local community. But of course, there's a huge difference between recommending resources and then actually diagnosing. And I'm assuming what you're
Sure.
saying is you're recommending, right? You're not overstepping. You're not actually diagnosing. You are recommending, which is incredible. And as you mentioned, all tech should be.
Of course, I certainly know the difference between diagnosing and recommending. And I know the difference between medical advice and a suggestion. But yeah.
So let's talk dentist. If you work for a dental office and it sounds like your dentist was even on board if they were chatting with you in the beginning about products, where do you refer for removals or do you leave that up to your client?
I do work for a dentist. So anytime I suggest that somebody goes to a dentist, I either make sure that we're in network with them or we have some options for patients that don't have insurance. But yeah, I usually will send them off to my dentist. They have to sign up to be a patient to get removals done. But I do have in my paperwork that they need to do it at home. Sometimes I'll get in there a little bit with a scaler, but I am classically trained and feel comfortable doing that, making sure that I'm protecting the enamel.
That's great. So
Now, a ton of composite doesn't really even come off with a scaler and needs to be polished off. So obviously they're going to the dentist. But yeah, I will do what I feel comfortable with. But even a scaler with someone who's super trained can be dangerous.
Exactly. And plus, you have access to a whole sterile bay, which most techs do not. So that is also a huge point, right?
Right. Yeah. I have access to multiple autoclaves. So if I use a scaler at my house, which is where my studio is, I can just pack it up and bring it to work the next day.
Which is so, so handy. And also, obviously, the safest way to do it. Now, talk to us about your retention. What have you found your retention has been like? Do you leave it up in the air? Like, okay, here's the most lowest to potentially the highest, or do you have a set time frame? And if you have a set time frame, what are your policies for if they come off sooner than that? Talk to us about that.
I have a 1 month warranty on gems. I'm happy to replace it as many times as we need to within a month for free. Because I'm nice, I usually will go a little bit over that, but I don't have many problems with retention. I think that is mostly in part due to knowing where to place gems so that the longevity of them exists. And I tell patients 3 to a year for gems. I wouldn't really recommend that somebody keeps a gem on for more than 12 months because that area is just not getting as clean. Even if you are the best brusher in the whole wide world, I think it's just great to pop it off, get a good cleaning around that gem, and even pick a new placement or keep that one. But yeah, I usually say 3 months to a year. I think that there are a lot of different reasons why a gem might last super long or not very long. But I don't usually attribute those things to eating or drinking restrictions because I have followed up with my 3M representative many times about this. And there is no scientific data to prove that anything that you eat or drink after a composite restoration can have the impact on its integrity. So I don't feel comfortable saying, don't eat or drink this for X amount of time. Don't, smoke for X amount of time after, because there just isn't data to prove that that's true. And I think that maybe somewhere along the line, a trainer or a tech decided that that's what they were going to say for their aftercare so that they could kind of cover their butts a little bit if retention wasn't great. And when a patient leaves our office after getting a filling, verbatim, there are no eating or drinking restrictions. The filling is as hard as it's going to get after you leave. And I know sometimes people will say like water, you shouldn't have water for no, or you shouldn't have any liquids for, let's say, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours. I've seen that on a lot of techs aftercare. And also that's not necessarily the correct information to share with your clients. If the materials are bonded and cured as the manual says it is, they are as hard as it's going to get when they leave. And there is no possibility of any moisture entering the filling, leading to bad retention. Again, that's definitely folklore. And I would pay $100 for somebody to prove to me that that's true.
No, for sure. Those are great tips. I mean, the only thing I can think there is maybe if someone's not using a light cure product and they're using like an activation, like a 2-step, like a base and a calorie.
Sure. Yeah. I don't use that.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
And then when it comes to you chatting about, that 24-hour, et cetera, period, those are great tips. And again, it just comes back to making sure each tech understands what they're actually working with, right? That's huge. But
a lot of people are buying products that are getting resold by wholesalers and they don't really even know what it is.
For sure.
There's no user manual. I mean, like I literally use my user manual like a Bible. I don't care what anyone else says who is a trainer. And yeah, I mean, how are you going to know if like somebody slaps their name on it?
Oh, absolutely. I always say the number one flag of if your product is quote unquote legitimate would be if you can't find it through a dental supplier. And also if it's coming with that company's logo on it, like blue smiles,
people,
etc. Right?
How would a tech know what they were actually using? Are they legally obligated to? Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing with being in these unregulated industries. Unless a public health inspector comes in and inspects your products, you're not going to get shut down or pulled for using something that is not an actual, you could say something that's a gray market product. So these are products that are coming in without labels from different countries that aren't probably registered in your area, etc. And especially because these companies, so our bond, our resin, etc., those are considered dental products, which means that they have to have licensing numbers. And those are not going to be found on these beauty products that are just floating around. So no, great point. Now,
I'm pretty sure that it's FDA regulated, like the stuff that we use in the dentist's office.
So they're going to have anything that comes through a dental distributor has to have a medical license, which then they can purchase through like its FDA approved products.
Yeah.
So it's all a big web for sure. Now, when it comes to you're chatting about foods, you're kind of more talking about the time frame within, say, that certain period of time. But I'm assuming you are still probably advising similar to braces, though, in the sense of like not biting into apples, not biting into corn, that kind of stuff, right?
Yes. I tell my clients to treat them like acrylic nails, kind of like they're there and you want to live your life as normal, but you have to remember that there's something foreign on your body and to proceed with a little bit of caution. I do advise clients to like be careful with, the crostinis. And I feel a little wary about saying stuff like be careful biting into an apple because my gems on my anterior, so my front teeth, they last so long. Might have never fallen off. I've had to just like pack. So I'm like, if I can do it, I feel like, sure, I'll say like, be careful biting into stuff, especially if we've placed gems like on
like a full line
close to the biting surface. But I don't say like, do not do this. I just will say proceed with caution. I do tell them if they have an electronic toothbrush to shut off the vibrate while it's over the gem. I still do it on my gems. They're still basically cemented on. But Yeah, I just say be careful biting into stuff. If they fall off in a month, then you can hit me up. If they fall off after a month, your problem. No, I'm just kidding. I'd probably still put it back on because I have a problem with saying no. But
That is such a great piece of advice. And I love that. So when I used to work in ortho, it was so crazy. I mean, kind of as you mentioned, you could have two kids, both with the same set of braces on, and one kid bites an apple and it's fine, and the other kid bites an apple and a whole
Yeah.
set comes off. So it's just, I
yeah,
love that you say proceed with caution. That's perfect. So another tip that my orthodontist would say if we bonded a set of brackets and a kid comes back and the bracket has adhesive on it. So the adhesive's off the tooth on the
Mhm.
bracket. We
Mhm.
would put that back on, no charge, because to him, he was saying that was a bond retention. But if the kid came in and the adhesive was on the tooth, not on the bracket, then he was like, that's your fault because clearly there was retention and you broke it. So is that something that you can kind of
Interesting.
see similar for gems as well?
Yeah. I guess that like might play it or similarly to like if someone loses a gem and there's like a foil backing.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've heard from lots of techs, it seems to be the higher grade products that you use for retention, and also with those something like the Swarovski, how they're so heavy, it can be a lot more common to kind of lose the top of the gem if you don't put the adhesive, say if you're using flow or comp, actually kind of around the gem a bit as well. Have you found that's been really helpful too?
I will allow like that well kind of around it sometimes. I will do that if I'm placing like a singular gem and I can clean it up well so that it doesn't look bulky, but also, yeah, allow for like the edges to hug over the gem. If I'm doing a larger design, obviously you don't want to do that because you don't want the composite to make the other gems cloudy. I don't think I can speak to which has better retention because I just haven't paid attention to that. But yeah.
Yeah, I can see that being so helpful, especially in certain cases. Absolutely. Now, what do you think? Do you think you will stay straight gems or do you think you'll add in something like whitening in the future?
I don't have any plans to add in whitening. I don't really feel comfortable doing whitening, knowing that my products aren't coming from my dentist, or I guess I have no idea where people get their whitening from if they aren't working in a dental office or they have connection to a dentist somehow. So I can't speak to the products that I would be using, I guess. I guess I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about like at home whitening, but I just rather refer them to my office. I know it's expensive and Zoom whitening is can cause some sensitivity, but it's not creative for me either. Like
It's not
I really
speaking
like
to
doing.
you.
Yeah, no, I like doing like the designs and the pretty shiny. And yeah, I don't know. I've thought about it, but if I wasn't feeling amazing about the product that I was getting as far as safety, I wouldn't do it. Also, I just noticed from before and after pictures online that it seems like the people that do whitening see a little bit more of the patients who should probably see a dentist first. And I know that people just, they're like, I know it. I know my teeth don't look amazing. I just want them to be white and I want to feel better about myself. And I totally get that. But I don't want to run into the risk, or I don't want to run into the chance of seeing more patients that do need to get a cleaning first.
So right now
That was
you're
a
happy with
very
gems.
long-winded, not concise. Yeah, I mean, it's not my full-time job, so I'm already like tired. I work 10 hours a day at the office and I come home and do a few appointments at night. And it just doesn't interest me to like put some whitening gel on someone and then walk away for an hour. It's not hands-on like I like it. It's not creative. And I know it is like lucrative and
For
people,
sure.
as someone has, they rake in the money and sometimes even make more money from whitening than they do from gems. But yeah, it just is not tickling me right now. But if you can present me the world's best whitening gel that doesn't require a license, is low sensitivity, and isn't $1 million, maybe I'll consider it.
Ah, you haven't talked to us yet then.
Right.
So that's so fun. Now, what are you thinking about? Do you see gems being full time in the future, or do you see it staying as a side hustle? Like, do you think that you'll kind of keep it separate?
I don't think I'll do gyms full time. Oral hygiene and running the dentist's office is like my bread and butter. I could not see myself giving it up.
You love it.
I love it so much. And my boss is literally the best boss I've ever had. My
That's
coworkers
amazing.
are so amazing. And yeah, I like the more medical side of things in general. I just don't think it's sustainable to do full time. Sure, if I was like making $150,000, like, okay, I'd give up my full time job maybe. But no, it was never the intention to be my full time job. And I can't foresee that happening anytime soon.
And that is inspiring because I feel like a lot of, especially dental professionals, will feel like, oh, I'm not going to get that started because sometimes we just get into this mentality that it has to be massive or you can't do it. And there's nothing wrong with just keeping it a side hustle and fitting it in when it's comfortable for you and just complementing your full time job, right? Like, not everything has to be that full time business, which is so enlightening to hear.
I feel like I don't have enough time in life in general, and I can't imagine ramping it up much more full time. I guess I would be creating more space for, to go full blown, but I feel good about where I'm at. And as far as like engagement and the amount of appointments that I get, yeah, we're good for now.
So good. Well, Megan, this has been so fun and so insightful. I'm so glad you came on and chatted with us. I know our listeners
Thanks.
are going to love it. So give us a tag on where we can follow along and watch your journey, but then also give us a tip on what you would say to either a tooth gem tech starting out or a fellow tooth gem tech already in the biz. What's a great tip of advice you have for them?
So you can find me mostly on Instagram at Najem's Tooth Bling. I have some exciting things coming up. I've connected with an old jewelry dealer to create tons of opals in colors we've never seen before and in shapes that we've never seen before. So stay tuned on Instagram. And yeah, something I would tell a new tech is buy an assisting book, open it up, take a look at what the tooth numbers are called, the surfaces, what are the signs of gingivitis, and really get to know the oral cavity before you accept money from someone to temporarily alter their mouth and their health.
So good. So good. Well, thank you so much, Megan. And those of you who are listening, thanks for listening to another episode of Whitening Wednesday.